Hey guys, welcome to the show today. We're excited to have Laura Klassen from Choice for Two on today. You may know her from her viral satirical videos such as The Magical Birth Canal, which is impossible to not get a kick out of every time you watch it. Laura Klassen is a Canadian pro-life activist and the founder and director of Choice for Two, an organization that challenges the abortion status quo in edgy ways, if I might add, while reaching out to abortion-minded women online. With a background in theater, Laura has gone viral more than once with these compelling, snarky, and satirical videos that ridicule the ideas that allow abortion to thrive in the first place. And Laura's new project, Exposed, is a 6-part animated series that dares to speak the most controversial yet ignored aspects of the abortion genocide. I think you're going to be encouraged, and most importantly, you're going to be fired up. Stick around and buckle up. I'm Seth Gruber, and this is UnAborted. Laura, welcome to the show today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. It's been a long time overdue. We've been planning to make it happen for a while, but excited to have you on, especially on the cusp of something really exciting that you're working on. And I want to get to that a little bit later because I want people to get familiar with who you are. A lot of listeners of this show, Laura, are people that have listened to me speak in churches. They're people of faith, but they haven't really been maybe involved in pro-life activism before. And they've kind of been awakened, especially in the last 2 years of our political climate in America. and they've reached their line and they're itching to do something. And so much of what you're doing is giving people ways to reach out online to saturate the new marketplace of ideas, the new public square with good ideas, and also how you interact with abortion-minded women, which has maybe upset some of the norms within the pro-life movement. So I want to get to all of that, but I want our listeners to get to know you a little bit. How did you get involved in pro-life work, and what's it like up in Canada?
Oh, well, it's bad up in Canada. We have no abortion laws at all. So, it's technically legal to get an abortion throughout all months for any reason. I got involved. I've always been interested since I saw graphic abortion image as a child. And wow. Since then, it was something that was always on my mind. I did, honestly, every year, I did like my main projects on abortion. I did my debate in high school on abortion. Like it just kept going and going. And so then I went to studied music and theater and opera. And while I was working as a singer, I started Choice for Two, just kind of seeing kind of a need and an opportunity to reach women in that way, and also to educate people because though we have no laws here in Canada, most Canadians don't even know that.
Wow, unreal. So you're a bit unique, as it always is when someone's in the arts. Anytime someone's in the arts, usually you can somewhat safely assume that they're sort of mainstream liberal or radically left. So what was that like for you, coming from the arts, being so outspoken on life?
I think that being in the arts for so many years actually trained me well for this, because I was used to being completely against the grain on pretty much everything. And yet I still managed to bend with these people. They still liked me. We could have conversations, even though they thought I was a complete whack job, right? So... Yeah, I guess it prepared me in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And then you've been participating in activism as a child or young adult as well, or did that become more your new lane when you launched your own organization?
Yeah, I really started that with Choice for Two. I volunteered at my local pregnancy resource center and that kind of thing, but the activism has all come with Choice for Two.
Wonderful. Wow. That's incredible. I was raised in this movement as well. As my listeners know, my mother was the director of a pregnancy resource center in LA County in the late 1980s and directed that clinic until she gave birth to me in 1991. And so I was raised doing the Walk for Life every year and helping people at our church get activated and engage with our local pregnancy resource center. But a lot of what you do is not only outside of the Pregnancy Resource Center grain, but there are many people who we know are incredible people in the Pregnancy Resource Center space, but who would take a pretty harsh line of opposition to your approach on abortion. I've experienced this as well because I use language sometimes similar to what you say when I discuss abortion. I'll say things like, you're paying a hitman to kill your child. That kind of language can be very upsetting to a little bit more of the peaceful personality that's often in the pregnancy resource center space. And they might even go as far, Laura, as to say that you're wrong. You're actually in the wrong for speaking that way. But you don't just do this randomly. You don't just do this because you like to upset people. You actually have years of experience speaking with abortion-minded women online, in person. And is it safe to say that you experience certain frustrations with the old pro-life script? Don't be offensive, focus on the mom, make sure she loves you. Talk a little bit about that in your journey.
Yeah, so I've completely changed how I speak with women. Because I came out of the pregnancy resource center world in a way, we were told you would never say something like abortion is murder. And a lot of the times you wouldn't even say it's wrong. You would just kind of present it as it's one of the options. And you're kind of hoping that you're going to steer the woman this way and away from the choice of abortion without actually saying it. And I think a lot of that is tied up in not wanting to get in trouble and lose charitable status for saying crazy things, which I understand that. But at the same time, we're dealing with a massive human rights violation. And so I found that by not saying the things that I needed to say, I wasn't able to save some of those babies. And so when we switched over and we're just speaking truthfully at Choice for Two, we've seen so many more babies saved. So it's working.
Wow. So tell us more about that shift. So how far into Choice for Two was you and your team before you really started changing your language? And what was the reaction when you made that change from women who they reach out to you, right? These are not women that you're just messaging. So tell us more about that.
So I think it was about 3 years ago. And I know because there's a specific baby that was kind of the change for me because she's just about to turn 2. So, 2 years and 9 months ago,
Right.
Her mom was in contact with me, and I was actually in touch with her for her previous pregnancy, and she chose abortion. And as so often happens, the woman gets pregnant again right away. And so with that one, I was just like, you know what? You cannot murder this child. Let's not beat around the bush here. That is what happened with your child. That's what happened. And so it was just kind of a way more straightforward conversation. I was just really real with her, and she agreed. And that child's now about to turn 2. So from there, that was the shift. Yes.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. Let me play devil's advocate for a second, and then I want to hear what you'd say. Because, I've seen the critiques against you. I get some of them as well. And anyone who speaks, they would say extremely, you and I would say truthfully, as we do. They might say, well, listen, Laura, I'm not afraid to call abortion for what it is. It's not cowardice, but it's that if I spoke as clearly as you, Laura, I would drive that woman away. If they'll say, if she hears me say, well, don't become a murderer, you'll just be the mother of a murdered child, she'll yell, scream at me, call me intolerant, and never talk to me again. And now that orphan is going to be killed. And if I had been more winsome, and not cowardly, but just more winsome and not as truthful with my language, maybe I could have saved that child. And that's a common critique. What are your thoughts about that in terms of the messaging of the pro-life movement or of activists like ourselves?
Yeah. Well, I often get accused of screaming at women. But the thing is, we're all online. So, am I typing crazy or something? And I am speaking kindly to them. Not
of course.
And the message is harsh, but we're still presenting it in a way where they do want to talk to us. And the thing is, they message us. So maybe things are a little different because we're not standing outside of a clinic or something trying to reach women that way. Although if I was, I do think I would just say the same thing. But they see our content, and our content is very straightforward. Abortion is murder. So if you're considering it, please reach out. We'll help you. And then they've seen stuff like the child sacrifice. That video is responsible for the most babies saved of all of our videos that we're aware of.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah.
How many?
So
How many moms chose life that you know of because of that video?
Oh, I'm not, probably over 20 at least that I know.
Wow. That's incredible.
But
praise God.
Yeah.
For you guys listening to the show, if you don't know what video I'm talking about, by the way, go to Choice for Two, either their YouTube channel or their Facebook page, and look at the child sacrifice video. It's incredibly done. Laura and her team did an incredible job. If you guys listen to this show enough, you'll know that I talk about abortion as child sacrifice because Satan doesn't care the name of the God that you sacrifice your children to. He's happy to go by the name of Moloch. He's also happy to go by the name of selfishness, education, money, or career. And it's very truthful. It packs a punch of truth, and I'm not surprised to hear that it's reaching women's hearts.
Right. So like they say that kind of thing. So they know who we are when they message us. And so that's kind of how this whole thing works. So yes, I know a lot of people don't like it. And I get that. I get that things have been done a certain way for a long time, but also this is working, and we wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't working.
Amen. How do some of the women that you and your team interact with respond when they reach out to you? And you're making it very clear that you love and support them and you want to help them, but you are saying things like, don't murder your baby, like you're that child's only advocate, and we're advocating for you and the child. Like, what's the response of women? Do you get women saying, like, screw you? Or do you get women saying, like, you're right, I know?
Yeah. Mostly we get, wow. I think it's just the nature of who is, like, watching our content and then coming to the page. Of course, we do get people that are kind of trying to justify their abortion to us or to me before they go and do it, which is a really weird thing because, like, you didn't message in to tell me that you, this stranger, are going to abort your child. You know what I mean? So, but there definitely are people that don't like hearing what we have to say. And you know what? Like, they don't have to continue a conversation with us. I'm always surprised too, like, how long a conversation will go sometimes when they're the ones messaging in, right? They don't agree with us. They're mad and they just keep going. But the cool thing is, a lot of those women have actually flipped. And then I've gotten messages like a full, 8 months later, having not heard from them, being like, I just wanted you to know I did keep the baby.
Oh, wow.
After, like, their last message to me was like, go F yourself.
Right. Wow, that's so beautiful. That's so cool. Well, you know, Scripture says eternity's written on the heart of man. And, you know, the way that I interpret that in sort of a American culture lens is reality tends to be self-evident. That's why our founder said in America, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with these rights first among our life. And I think people get that at sort of a self-evident level. You know, you and I know many post-abortive men and women. And one of the stories that specifically post-abortive women will say is that, I hear this all the time, I'm sure you do as well, is that I wish someone had been out there that day. I mean, women say this all the time. In fact, some of them will say, when I was driving to the center, Seth, I was praying that there would be someone there to stop me. Yeah. It's like, whoa. And from like sort of a spiritual realm, like you and I respond by like, well, if you didn't want to do this, why didn't you reach out? Why did you go through with it? Yeah. But then it's like on the other side, it's like, but where's the church? Like, where are the Christians? Where are the pro-lifers? Why wouldn't we be there? And today on social media, that's just the new public square, right? Why wouldn't we be there? And so I find that just beautiful and incredible that these women who message you hating you they keep messaging you because they want the truth. And I think deep down they want someone to say, don't murder your baby, we're here for you.
Yeah, and we get a lot of messages that say, you know, or they'll say they're praying, even though they'll say that they're not religious or whatever, but they're saying that they were praying for a sign. And then they went online, they went on Facebook, and then our video popped up. Like, that's happened a number of times now, which is really cool. And so they took that, you know, your child video as a pretty clear sign.
Wow, that's incredible. Laura, before we move on to some other things I want to ask you about, do you have any like amazing, jaw-dropping, God ordained crazy stories that you want to share with our listeners, just to encourage them through anything in the last 2 or 3 years of how the digital outreach and the videos and the messages and the trolls and the comments and the individual conversations with women? Is there anything that you just love sharing in regards to your ministry?
There's so many stories. My mind always kind of draws a blank, but like
Right.
recently we've had this really cool thing where people have been wanting to translate our videos into languages. And so they've actually gone more viral in other parts of the world than in North America. And so we recently did that with the child tech. No, it was the So You're Pregnant video in Spanish. And I hadn't thought about it, but in there, it actually says, like, if you need help, reach out and we'll help you. So there, it got translated into Spanish by an organization in South America, and we posted it, they posted it, and we just got flooded with messages from Spanish-speaking women. And I was like, oh no, like nobody on our team speaks Spanish. So we actually brought on some people. Now we have a new permanent member who is a Spanish speaker, and just through that, so many babies were saved. Like, it was crazy. I think like the first day we got like 25 messages in the day, and then they were all, and we were able to connect with the pro-life organizations in South America and get them job interviews and pay their medical bills. Like, it was crazy. So that's a neat thing that, I did not see that coming.
Yeah, that is so cool, Laura. Wait, so with some of the women who have reached out internationally, I guess domestically too, but has the response in conversation usually been, don't do this, oh, you're right, I needed to be told not to do this, thanks, I'll tell my family now? Is it more of an encouragement relationship, or are a lot of those women dependent on the promise of support in order to reject abortion?
Yeah, I feel like it's a different situation almost. I feel like I can be even more straightforward. Like, not that I'm not with women here, but to them, I'll say, and we have helped women in Africa and, in the UK and across different places. But I will always say, even if we can't help you, it's still wrong to murder your child. Like, that's the bottom line. Like, just going to, and so then, like, I don't want to be making promises. And it's also like a weird hostage type situation where you will have people saying, I'm going to abort unless you give me money, essentially.
Right.
And we're like, we can't get into that because I'm not able to buy all these children. Like, that's a crazy thing to say. Yeah. But so it's more just
pretty sick.
But also their lives are so much more harsh and tragic that then when I'm talking to any woman here in North America, I'm like, you know what? Even at your worst, you're gonna be in a house, you're gonna have food, you're gonna have running water, like you are gonna be okay.
Yeah.
But then like talking to women in Africa, it's different.
Yeah. And I bet some of those women who have chosen life could probably be of a great encouragement to women who think they have it hard. But if they knew some of the women choosing life overseas, I mean, wow, is that humbling or what? Laura, let's talk briefly about Trolls. Not the movie, of course. Now, I have my share of them. You have even more of them. You probably got a corner on the troll market, probably rivaling Lila Rose just because of how edgy your content is. But, people often tell me, Seth, just block the trolls on your page so it's not so filled with hate. I get that a lot. I mean, I just did one the other day. It was a picture of the Nazi flag with the swastika, and it was a picture of a Planned Parenthood flag that said, care no matter what. And I said, can anyone, I said, I can't figure out the difference. That was my caption. And those ones, I mean, I get the trolls showing out in record fashion, messaging me with the comments and everything. But there's a reason why you've kept them around, and there's a reason why I've kept them around. Our reasons are probably a little different, but can you talk to that and maybe some of the ways God's actually worked through your keeping your page so open-ended and not blocking nasty people?
Yeah, and I feel like that's another thing where we kind of did the opposite of what's expected. And I even had some people in the pro-life movement get very upset and accuse me of certain things for not blocking the trolls, as though I'm condoning their behavior, which I'm not.
Right.
But I do believe in free speech, and if they want to act like complete terrible, evil people publicly, like that's on them. I don't block them because they've helped us so much in terms of growing our page. Right. It's just incredible. We would not be where we are without them, I don't think. Even now, they're sharing around our new project. Like,
right. Yeah, they're helping. Yeah, free marketing.
Yeah. And so that's the one side of it. The other side of it is a lot of them are the women who are considering abortion. They are our target audience. We do want to be talking to them. And I've seen women change their mind. I've even seen a really quite influential pro-abortion activist change her mind. And that's been really cool. Yeah, and I'm wondering if she'll come out with her story at some point. But obviously, I've promised not to tell who she is. But
sure.
Stuff like that. And so it's really cool to see people change sides.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's so cool. Yeah, my trolls have helped my page grow, and I think they started some expletive Seth Gruber group as well, which is always lovely. But they do help some content go viral. They help it get more people see it, and then more people are engaging with pro-life ideas, right? Or they're seeing the humanity of the child, or they're seeing your child sacrifice video. And so, for us, that's always a win, and we'll happily take it. So, getting down to brass tacks, Laura, let's just talk a little bit about the best way to speak to an abortion-minded woman. Now, I know you can only speak from your experience, of course, and the ways that you've seen are the best to increase the likelihood of saving her child. But for our listeners, many of them know people who have had abortions or are considering abortion. Many of them are going to know people who will be considering abortion. Like I said, many of our listeners are just faithful believers in local churches who have kind of been awakened on life. And they're like, I need something to do. And so many Protestants and Catholics get abortions and the pulpits are silent. So this is very much in many of their experiences. How would you recommend speaking to them when it's a friend and they're in a conversation, but it's someone that they have a relationship with? So the person's not going to flip them off and say, I hate you, and they have some relational equity. What's the best way to engage with these women?
Just be loving, and loving means being truthful. I always just say, what you're actually saying, you're not saying I'm considering abortion. You're saying, I'm thinking about murdering my own baby. That's what it is. That's not good for the baby, obviously, and that's not good for her. And as a friend, you need to stand up for this child, and you need to stand up for her, because the fallout from abortion is just tragic. I'm learning more and more just about how awful it is to be post-abortive.
Yeah, of course. I mean, because reality is self-evident, and once you realize what you've done, your life will be destroyed, barring the grace of Jesus and the redemption of his blood shed on the cross. I was a captain of my cross-country and track team in high school, and I was the captain for 3 years, and I was strict. I wasn't a jerk, but I was strict, and I was truthful, and I had expectations. But these were my peers. These were people my age. These were my friends. If you showed up late, if you showed up late, you had to run a mile. If you cheated on the run and you cut it short, I told coach. And so I was Seth the snitch. Oh, freaking Seth, always snitching on us. You know what happened years later? At least a couple of those guys from the varsity team came to me and they were like, hey, Seth, I just want to thank you for being an incredible captain of our team. You kind of pissed me off a lot back, way back when. But you were in the right, and I appreciate you putting it straight to me, even though I didn't like it at the time. It's just a small example of if I could put my reputation and my credibility to my friends on the line just for the sake of discipline and athletic excellence. Can we at least not do that as the body of Christ for the sake of an eternal soul who has never existed before and will never exist again, whose life is hanging in the balance? And when you contend for truth and you pray for the people who are contemplating abortion, they will eventually come around, and they will thank you. And hopefully they'll be thanking you because they chose life, not despite the fact that they chose abortion. So that's been my experience.
That's totally the same. And that's what we get. We get the baby pictures coming in, the newborn baby pictures, with a message like, thank you so much. I believe what I almost did. And I'm so glad that my child's here. That's like almost always how it goes. We just, we got a baby picture this morning with that message. So, yeah.
That's amazing. That's so cool. Let's talk about some of your satirical videos. Obviously, the most popular one's probably the Magical Birth Canal. The blue hair one was incredible. So you guys go check out all of Laura's videos. The blue hair one is about eugenics of Down syndrome children. And then there's one on consent, because we were told consent to sex is not consent to pregnancy. Laura's fun spin on that is consent to eating 20 donuts a day is not consent to getting fat. So I want you guys to check those out and share those if you haven't watched them before. What's been the reaction to some of those videos? And has there been any ways that God has used those as well for, how edgy they are? Really ridiculing, not people, but ridiculing the ideas. I think it was been over 3 years, right, since the first ones. What's that been like, and what kind of reactions have you gotten from those?
The reactions have been intense, like either way. I feel like the anti-abortion movement, if they understood it was satire, they liked it. They liked this whole new way of kind of addressing the pro-choice arguments. And then it just really picked off a lot of the pro-abortion movement, but also a lot of them watched it because they thought that it was going to be a pro-choice video, just because, honestly, because of the pink hair. And we did that on purpose, and then it worked. So
that's brilliant.
It's been a good run of these videos in trying to also kind of beat the algorithms and get our message out.
That's right. And one thing I think people often forget about this type of work and what you do is that the world is not cleanly split between radical pro-life activists and radical pro-abortion advocates. Like, that's what the mainstream media likes to portray. But the reality is, and the polling kind of bears this out as well, if you know the polling, but like the middle is huge. The middle is huge on this issue of people who are on the fence. I talk to these people all the time when I do my speaking engagements in faith-based high schools even, where they're pro-choice by default, but they've never thought about the ideas. And they come up to me and they're like, I'm pro-life now. I'd never thought about that before. There's people who they're pro-life except for rape and incest, and then you talk through it, and then they're fully pro-life. So many people are in the middle, or they don't like third trimester abortions, but they're fine with first trimester abortions. And those people are actually persuadable, and they're open to conversations, and they're not going to call you some, Republican bigot rube. They're actually interested in talking about the abortion issue. And so I love your trolls, because they help reach those middle people who aren't sure what they think, and they've probably never been exposed to those type of pro-life ideas before.
That's right. Actually, I was going to mention before too, like the trolls have helped us to save babies, because they shared our videos into pro-choice groups, or even like same as you. I have groups made like, when will Laura Klassen shut the F up? So someone shared my video into that group, which is made to make fun of me. And then a woman in that group who is pregnant saw it and then messaged me and was like, but will you actually help me? Like,
Wow. No way.
That was really,
and she chose
that
life.
baby is alive.
That's amazing. That's so cool. Praise God. Well, in Scripture, you see God use some pretty wicked kings who hate God to accomplish righteousness. And so why would we be surprised that he'd be doing the same thing today? Laura, let's talk about Exposed. So you're wearing the shirt there, Exposed, this new 6-part video series that you're doing. I'm really excited about it. A lot of people are really excited about it, just because it's so long overdue. And I don't mean necessarily that you've been lagging. That's not what I meant. I meant really good pro-life content. Animation, storytelling, for the culture and for the civilization, because the left, as debauched as their ideas are, the people at the higher echelons of leftist activism are good storytellers. They tell good stories. They embed their ideas into good stories. And they've been doing this through sitcoms for years. You fall in love with the character. They make stupid decisions, but you're emotionally invested in the character, so you love them. And before you know it, the psychological and philosophical furniture of your mind is being rearranged, and you're now approving of the choices and the lifestyle. So this type of content is long overdue, and I'm really excited about it. Just go full bore. Just hold no punches. Like, talk about this series. Talk about how God set this up, and just tell listeners what it is, what it's going to do, and how they can partner with you.
Right. So, so exciting. We saw the same thing with just how influenced the culture is through media. You know, like, this is nothing new. You know, Hitler was great at this. We thought, okay, we really need to step it up. And like, a lot of the pro-life materials were just not cutting it. They were just kind of like lame and very budget, and like, we can do better because, you know, lives are on the line. So with our animated videos, I ended up getting in contact ex-Disney animator. I just kind of like made a post saying that we're considering doing animation, and, you know, most of the time artists don't want to work with me because, you know, they're worried about their career and all this kind of stuff. So I just made a post being like, I need someone, and I, you know, no offense, I don't need like someone with a really good heart who thinks they can animate. Like, I need the best, and we will pay you.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes. And she got in touch with me and was like, hey, I'm ex-Disney. And so she has all the contacts of all these professional animators. And so we've done our last 2 animations with her, and so it's been awesome. And then over here, you've got Lure, who is this new platform that's starting out, allowing artists that have been canceled, and also artists that are going to make quality, like, Christian content. That's another one of their angles, where it's kind of same thing. Like, whereas a lot of the Christian content is, you know,
what do they say? Lure TV, so Christian movies don't suck, or something like that?
Yeah, Christian movies shouldn't suck. That's what it is. So they approached me and they said, you know, do you want to create some content for our platform when we launch? And they were going to, you know, help us in that way. And I was like, okay, like, yeah, we could make a video. And they were like, well, why don't you do like more? Like, why don't you make a series, and why don't you make them longer? And I was like, oh, okay. So that kind of opened a whole other thing, because I'd never thought about doing that. We never really had the funding to do, like, it's expensive. For these professional, like, we've got DreamWorks, you know, Disney artists. Like, I know, it's crazy. I know. So that's what's happened. And so we're creating a 6-part series. And actually, I am so excited because I was contacted by, like, somebody very cool who's a legit in the acting world person, who called me this week and said that they want to be involved. And so we're just working out the contract. It's like, it's huge. So it's really cool to see how this is all coming together. But our series is going to be very intense. I mean, I think people might expect that from us by now. Just in terms of talking about some of the things that the anti-abortion movement even has not really up until this point. And so, you know, we've got the full-on, here's what an abortion actually is episode. But then we go more into challenging things like in vitro fertilization, which is something that, is very ignored. Like, me growing up in the church, I knew nothing about IVF except for that's what you do if you can't get pregnant and you need some help, and it's fine. And let's all pray for this couple that's going in for IVF. And that's all I knew about it. And so then, you know, but then when you look into it and you realize actually how many lives, if you believe life begins at conception, how many lives are lost along the way. And I truly, truly believe that people don't know. And even people going through IVF, they don't know because they're not told.
It's crazy. I've gotten in fights verbally with Christian individuals who say they're pro-life. who are defending IVF to me. I mean, this has actually happened in my own immediate family, or extended family, slightly extended family, of whom are all basically Christians, who said, like, but we know someone. Well, we know someone who couldn't get pregnant, and now look at these two beautiful children. And I'm like, yeah, and I know people who had premarital sex, so I guess that was fine, right? Because the end product was an image bearer of God. It's like, no, of course not. But people don't think through these ideas at all. They don't know what selective reduction is. They don't know that you're murdering some of the siblings in order to get that one or two perfect babies. And I agree with you. I think most people literally just don't know. They're so ignorant, and the primary sources of information and cultural discipleship are all on the left. And so most people are not learning this at all. Can you preview any of the other topics you'll be talking about?
So post-abortion regret, and not just that, even more towards like the trauma of it, which is also something the church and both sides of the movement kind of avoid that in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And then we're even going to go into fetal cell lines and aborted babies being harvested. And that kind of also another thing I don't think most people know about. I'm even finding out more as we've been doing the research toward it. And it is just horrific.
Yeah, it's a lot. Whenever I get that question, I have a long answer I give to it for aborted cell lines and fetal tissue harvesting and vaccines. But the short answer, and I'm sure you've dealt with this idea, the short answer that gets people thinking again is like, can you imagine if we were killing infants and taking their cells and their crushed body parts and using it to create vaccines and then injecting them into children? I mean, like, how about if it was a person of color who was killed through police violence and you crushed up his body to create vaccines? I mean, oh my gosh, Black Lives Matter Incorporated would lose their ever-loving minds. But as long as that black baby or baby is inside the womb, then it's just reproductive justice. So anyways, we're excited about that. Is there one or two more topics? What else are you hitting?
Just more kind of stories that really make people think. And the whole series is also being designed to be used as like a six-week small group setting study. So it's going to be really cool.
Wonderful. I know you, Laura, you've worked with pastors fairly closely. I know you've built out a little of a sort of a network that you mentioned before, pastors that you've actually gotten activated and you've been able to engage with in a meaningful way. Is there a way for churches and pastors to utilize this? We're going to talk about how they can support you in a second, but how they could utilize this in their church and to educate and equip people as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's being made for them. It's going to be on Lure, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but I do think I remember them saying something like there's going to be some special program for pastors or churches to be able to access the material.
Awesome.
And so it's designed for them. It's being designed for you to watch in your church and to discuss. And it's going to be not very comfortable, but very necessary.
Good. That's right. Well, we live in a post-Christian society. We live in a culture of death, and we better get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Right. For Lure TV, guys, you guys can go to www.lure.tv. However, I want people to support this project. You're doing an initial funding here of, I believe, $60,000 to fund this project. You guys can go to www.donorbox.org/exposed. And do you have a timeline on that?
No. I mean, as soon as we get it, we'll start. So I'm hoping.
Wonderful.
I'm hoping soon.
Oh, awesome. Well, you guys, Laura and I believe that this type of animation, storytelling, and truth-telling is saving babies, will save babies. And so the sooner that, and change minds and change hearts, and shift the culture. If you guys want to help this get off the ground as soon as possible, again, go to www.donorbox.org/exposed. That's the name of the series. I've contributed myself. I'll contribute again. I want all of you guys to contribute $5, $10, $100. If you support me on a manual basis, go ahead and skip a donation for a month and go ahead and support this Exposed series so we can get this off the ground as soon as possible. Anything else that you want to share with our listeners? How can they connect with Choice for Two, with you, support your work, and make a visible difference?
Yeah, so just social media. I mean, they can go to our website, which is choice42.com. It's the number 4, the number 2, so 42. Or they can find Choice for Two or me, Laura Klassen, on all the different social media platforms. Recently got back on TikTok. I've been kicked off there for like a year.
Oh wow!
So yeah, that was because of the blue-haired video. That got me like banned for a long time.
I forgot about that. That's right. Yes, yes. Well, guys, go watch all of these videos if you haven't. The magical birth canal video, the blue hair video, the consent to pregnancy video with the donuts. www.donorbox.org/exposed. If all of the listeners of this show made $50, $100, $25 contributions, that would really make a huge difference and fast track them towards getting this done. Laura, thank you so much for joining the show today. Thanks for being a bold truth teller in deceitful times. We really appreciate you coming on. We're excited for the series. We'll be continuing to push it out and share it as a curriculum for people to get equipped.
Thank you so much. This is really helpful, and it's been an awesome conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have you back on, and we're praying for all of your efforts. Guys, thanks for joining the show today. Head on over to iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. Give the show a rating and review. Let us know what you think. It really helps us reach more people. People like Laura and I have to fly under the technocrats at Google and Facebook, and we want to reach as many people as we can for as long as we can, which is why it's also important for us to build our own Christian infrastructure through Allure TV, through these types of projects, as people continue to be canceled. If you want to learn more and engage with me online, head on over to SethGruber.com, SethGrub as in baby boy, ER.com, to sign up for my newsletter, to see my speaking schedule if you want to hear me speak live and local, and to book me for an event as my 2021 calendar is almost filled up. Follow Choice42 and Laura Klassen on Facebook, on Twitter, on all of Instagram, and all the social media platforms. Until next week, I'm Seth Gruber, and this is UnAborted.
Hey guys, this is Laura Klassen from Choice for Two. You might know us from our anti-abortion videos, which have gone viral. We've tackled hard topics like child sacrifice and pregnancy from rape. We've also done a lot of satire. We've gotten millions of views despite being censored by big tech. Best of all, we've had feedback from pregnant women who told us that watching our videos is what changed their mind and led them to canceling their abortion appointment. Now we've been given an amazing opportunity to create a 6-part series of shorts with Lure called Exposed. We're so excited because this platform will allow us to address abortion head on. We won't need to censor our content during production in fear of it being removed. Lure is all about giving a platform to artists who have been canceled, and if you follow Choice for Two, you know the issues we've had with major social media platforms suppressing or removing our content. Abortion is offensive, and we need to show the truth, make people uncomfortable, and challenge the status quo. Lure will let us do that. With your financial backing, we will create a hard-hitting animated series that will take on some of the most controversial issues surrounding abortion, including the church's apathy, post-abortion regret, and IVF. Yeah, we're gonna go there. Our stories are creative and very engaging, and we have the best professional artists lined up. We decided to use animation to tell these stories because it's a great medium for difficult and abstract concepts and can illustrate ideas that live action can't. People are also more likely to watch and share animation online. It's the best medium for tackling tough topics like abortion. But good animation is pricey. We want to put out a fully professional series, and we need your help to do that. Our series is also being designed to be used in a small group setting to spark conversation and challenge people to really evaluate how we should be responding to the genocide of our time. You know we'll push the envelope with this series, and with your help, Lure will make it happen. Become a producer with us on these 6 videos. Exposed. Join us as we challenge the abortion status quo in ways that have never been done before.